Essential Love, sharing the love one drop at a time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm so excited to be sharing with you my love for numerology and how I use it, and also my love for essential oils. So before we get started on the numbers, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been using numerology for quite a few years now, and I was actually introduced to numerology. You know, I'd heard about it a long time ago, but it never interested me. And then a few years ago now, my husband introduced me to a colour therapy called Orosoma. He came home raving about, how fantastic it was, and it was just, so amazing, and the next thing, and all, he was just so enchanted by it. So I decided to give it a go. And I felt the same way. I felt a really strong connection, and I thought there's something here that I need to look into. And, I would say before that, not only was I a non-believer, but I was definitely a really firm non-believer in anything spiritual. I had a really low emotional intelligence. I just wasn't interested. It just didn't. And, my husband has always been interested. And so it was kind of, I guess, a little bit of conflict there for us, because he was so passionate about that and I was so passionate about not. So once I got introduced to Orosoma, I decided to learn some more, do some study, find out how does this work and what does it mean, and how do the colours influence us. And as I started progressing with that, I learned a little bit about numbers. And it just intrigued me from the get-go. I just thought, this is amazing. There's something here. And, for me, coming from a place of non-belief, it was confusing. They're talking about these abstract ideas that for me were just too far out of my comfort zone. I was an intellect. I lived in my head. So they're talking about, what is, or in the now, or, connecting with yourself. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I guess there was some resistance there. I didn't want to know either. So once I started looking at numerology, and it just made those pieces of the puzzles fit together. And I really connected with it for that reason. And I started looking at it and saying, oh, my husband's this and my kids are that, and how can I do this and what can I do? And then I thought, I got to a point where for myself, I wasn't developing. And so, I thought, I need to just come back to me. Okay. And what does my numerology chart say? And what numbers do I need to work on? Because, it's all well and good to be pointing the finger at somebody else, but you've got three pointing back. You really need to look at yourself. And so since I've started doing that and really concentrating on, okay, what do I need to work on? Where are my weaknesses, and what are my strengths, so I can nurture those. And since then I've had, a phenomenal amount of personal growth. Talking in front of people was something that I was petrified of. And now I feel a lot more comfortable with it. And of course I've used essential oils to help me with that, to open up more and just to be more of me. That's all I've done, is to be more of who I really am. So that's kind of the background of how I got into numerology. And, I use it with my kids to work out, why are they behaving that way? Or, what's a way that I can help nurture something in them that I know that they're here to learn. Because, I believe that when we incarnate, we pick our name, we pick our birth date, we pick all of the situations we're going to put ourselves in because we want to learn something as a soul. So we come here for a human experience, and, we kind of have an outline of what we want to experience. It's not just random. So I think that there is real, true, deep meaning in, what your birth date is. And, I look at my children and I can see, some of them were born early and some of them were born late. And, were they really? I know that due dates are just a guideline, but I think sometimes, The baby comes when the baby comes. And there's a reason for that. They come because they chose that date. They want that energy of those numbers to support them in their experience or to guide them. And so, you know, you'll find that there's patterns in families. You know, when you look at in our family, just us, I've got, you know, a beautiful husband and 3 children. So when you look at our numbers, there's some real similarities, and there's areas where I'm lacking and somebody else in the family picks that up. So we're here to learn from each other and to guide and teach each other. So that's why I think numerology is so powerful. And, you know, when I was introduced to doTERRA, I thought, this is just an amazing, beautiful tool that works on so many levels of our being that, you know, everyone really deserves to have in their home. Everyone should be, you know, given the privilege of having some doTERRA in their home to support them on whatever level they want. And I knew when I was introduced that there was a link, that, you know, numerology and essential oils have to be able to work together. They're just such amazing tools that there has to be a way to fit them together. And so I've started developing it, and I think I'm just scratching the surface. I think there's so much more out there to look at, and I'm working on it. But, you know, I think an easy way to do it is, you know, with what I've done now, it introduces the concept of numerology. It helps fit it in somehow with the oils, and then from there we can build and see what else comes out of it. You know, I think it's exciting to know that there's something new out there. The possibilities are endless. It's just magical. So I'll share my screen with you now. And, you know, as you can tell, I get really passionate. I don't like maths, like addition. I have to use a calculator, but numbers and their meaning, just love. I love. I could just talk about them all day. So if I get off track, I'm really sorry. I will try and bring myself back, but I've got a little PowerPoint, so I will share my screen with you guys now so you can see. And I'll just move me out of the way. Sorry guys, technology is not my strong point. Okay. So Alison's Essential Love is my business name. So you can jump on my Facebook page or Instagram if you want to. I put in little bits of numerology here and there. So numerology. Everything that you see can be reduced to a number, and that number has a vibration behind it. So that's why I connected with it so much, because the order of the universe can be explained by numbers. And for me, a really logical, intellectual person, it made it so simple. And I could say, okay, yeah, I can see why you're talking about that thing in that way, because it's this number. You know, the numbers have like a personality about them. So, you know, once you start to learn, you know, who the numbers are, you can start to see where everything fits together. You know, you can work out, you know, a crystal has a vibration. When you know the name, each letter of the alphabet corresponds to a number. So you can work out the vibration of that crystal. I don't know what it's called, so don't ask me. My husband gave me these. So that's why numbers are so important. They identify all the different forms of energy that are around you. And so you can then use them to work out, okay, why am I acting or responding in this way? You know, why am I feeling emotional like that when I'm around this, or when that person I'm interacting with them? Because maybe they're a number that, you know, they might be holding up a mirror to say, hey, you need to look at this. Or maybe they're pushing you to learn something. You know, I see it with my kids all the time that they've all got different numbers, and they all work together in different ways to teach each other what they're here to learn. So, you know, for my middle guy, you know, he has to learn to stand up for himself. So the other two take things off him. And, you know, my oldest guy, he has to learn to really soften down and just stop being so pushy and abrupt. And so the other two bring that softer feminine energy to him and really bring him back down. And we've worked all that out with the numbers by looking at their birthdays and looking at their names and what are their karmic lessons and that sort of thing. So, you know, for me, it's just once you start to learn, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and it makes it so simple. And, you know, for me personally, you know, by understanding the significance of my numbers and working out, you know, what does my numerology chart say, I can start to predict, okay, when I am in this situation, I will shut down because I know I've got this number and I really resonate with the characteristics of that. So what can I do to change that? You know, for example, I have a lot of 7s in my chart. So that's something I've really been working on. You know, it's all about trust and openness. So I know I shut down in situations because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle it. And so, you know, I've been using lavender a lot. Lavender is the oil of communication. It helps you to express your inner thoughts and feelings and to be open and sharing with that. You know, also spearmint, the oil of confident speech, to be able to stand up and say something. So, you know, for me, having that, knowing those numbers and being able to say, okay, I am committing to working on this, I have made a lot of headway. And like now I'm doing a webinar. So, you know, the numerology can really help. And I was a person where, you know, people talk about self-development and you know, nurturing yourself. And for me, I was so out of touch with myself that I didn't even know where to start. I had no idea. And people, you know, yeah, you can meditate and you can do yoga or you can, you know, do anything, but to consciously make a decision that, okay, this is a weakness of mine and I'm consciously going to work on it. For me, that was so hard and I really struggled to pick something until I used my numerology chart to work out, okay, the 7, it just keeps coming up. What's the 7 all about? I'm just going to work on that. And I've, you know, it's been amazing. It's been so fantastic for me. So as we go through the slides, I've got some oil recommendations. And I just really want to stress that these are just a guide. I've used the Emotions and Essential Oils book, which I love. It is my favorite resource. To, you know, the numerology and the divine triangle is one of the numerology resources that I use. And, you know, it gives the personality of the numbers. And so then you can link that with the emotions in the Emotions and Essential Oils book and come up with oils that fit. And also just using my own personal experience of what oils I've used, what oils I've used for my children or my husband or for people that I know and how have they worked. Because everybody's different. So that's why I want to stress that it is just a guide. Please trust your own intuition. You know, if you're like me and you're totally disconnected with yourself, by all means pick an oil that I've listed and start from there, but really start to nurture and tap into that intuition, because that is where the growth is and that is where you will flourish, because you know what's best for you. And then that's where, you know, you just start to always acknowledge what your intuition's saying, and from there you just can't go wrong. So today we're going to talk about the inner and outer personality and how that can be determined with the numbers. And so we're using our birth day and month. So if you've got a pen and paper, I would strongly recommend that you write this down so that you know, as we're going through the numbers, you can reference back to it. So your birth month is your outer personality, and that is how other people see you. So when I first got into numerology, I didn't resonate so much with my outer personality. I didn't really feel a great connection to the number. But, you know, if you had have asked my husband, he would have been like, yeah, she's definitely like that. That's her. I can see all of those personality characteristics in them. So if you don't see them in yourself, maybe ask someone who's close to you and who's, you know, going to be honest, and you should be able to sort of pinpoint whether or not this is you. The other thing too with numerology is there's not just one number. So in your chart, there's so many numbers that you can work out. So this is just one layer of it. You know, think of it as multiple layers in a big picture. You know, you need all the pieces to get the puzzle together, and this is just the beginning. So don't, if you don't completely resonate with what I'm saying about you, don't be disheartened. There's probably another number that's stronger in your chart that you'll really connect with. So yeah, just take that on board as well, that this is a really deep process that goes under many layers. So the way you work your outer personality out is by reducing your birth month to a single digit, except if you're in November. This is a master number, the number 11. So you just write down the number 11. So, if you're born in October, 1 plus 0 equals 1. If you're born in December, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So go ahead and write down your outer personality now and just put a little note next to it, outer personality, so that you're remembering when we go back. And we will go on to the inner personality. So the inner personality is how you see yourself. And I really, really connected with my inner personality. So I'm born on the 4th, and every single aspect of the 4 I resonate with. I was reading it and I was like, this is just, someone wrote this for me. I really, really connected with it. So this is how you see yourself. Maybe other people don't notice this so much in you, but you definitely will see aspects of this in yourself. So we do the same thing. We reduce your birthday to a single digit, except for the 11 and the 22. They are both master numbers and they stay as is. So, once again, if you're born on the 23rd, 2 and 3 is 5. If you're born on the 27th, 7 and 2 is 9. You write that down. So just go ahead and write that down now. Reduce it to the single digit, except for the 11 and the 22. You just write those straight down if you're born on the 11th or the 22nd. So the meaning of the numbers. As we go through the numbers, the meaning of each number, like I said before, they have like a personality. So generally the meaning of that number will stay the same, but the place in your chart determines the significance or, the extra bit of meaning that it has. So, your inner and outer personalities will be one aspect, and then you've got like a life path number or a life lesson number or a path of destiny number or a power number. There's so many numbers in your chart. And, when you're sort of going through them, each one has, it slightly changes the meaning of the number, but in general, they just stay the same. So, as we keep going on, and I'm going to keep doing different workshops on each of the different numbers, you'll see patterns. So for me, the pattern of the 7, it kept coming up. So it's like, okay, I need to work on the 7. Maybe you'll have a lot of 1s somewhere in your chart. So then the 1 is really important to you. You need to start working on that. So these patterns come up, and they come up through the family as well. My kids have some of the same karmic numbers as my husband and I. So, we're here to work on those things together. You can see the patterns. You can start to work out how we're going to work on this and what are we going to do together. So, and I think that would extend out as well. So the people that you attract to you would have numbers you need to learn, or you would have numbers that you need to teach them. So, that it just keeps going forever and ever. It's just infinite. So let's get into the numbers. Beautiful, strong, number 1. I love this number. It's a really confident, strong number. You can see he's in the middle. He wants everybody to see him. He wants to stand up in the middle of the room and say, hey, look at me, I'm here. So, that confidence, because the 1's the pioneer. Without the 1, you have nothing. Okay, so you can't do anything without the 1. It all starts there and progresses onwards and upwards. So he's the pioneer. He's the one that strikes it out on his own. He's out there slugging it out. He sees what he wants something and he goes for it. And so other people follow, not because he's a leader, but because he's just going. He's just moving. He's the pioneer. He's getting somewhere. And so because of that, other people choose to follow them. He's got this amazing creative potential. From the 1 is where everything begins. Without the 1, you have nothing. So the creative potential there is just amazing. And, you see people with a lot of 1s in their chart or in their birthday, and their ability to manifest is just like that. They can just instantly manifest whatever they want, and that can be positive or negative. So if you've got a lot of 1s, just be careful. What are you thinking about? What are you putting out there? Are you getting into situations where things are tough? Because you're creating that, and you're creating it really well because you've got a lot of 1s. So flip the mindset and start manifesting things that are really positive and amazing. You know, what do you want? Create a vision board, write an affirmation, do whatever you have to do to start getting that positive mindset in your life. They're in a perpetual state of motion because we start with the 1 here and always progress up. They don't know any other way except forward. So just constantly going. And that's, you know, where the pioneer comes into it and why other people follow them, because they get somewhere in life. They do things because they're just moving all the time. And the only way they can move is up. It's the magician. So they've got this really magic energy about them, you know, that manifesting potential, that creativeness that they have. And, you know, when you look at the tarot, you go from the fool who's carrying his tools in his bag over his shoulder and he doesn't even know he's got them, to the one with the magician where he lays out his tools in front of himself. He can see what he's got there. He knows he's got all the tools he needs to create whatever he wants in this lifetime. He just has to make that decision to create something and to be something. And whatever he does will be perfect. You know, something that the one could probably work on a little bit is that they can be overbearing, you know, because they only know to go forward and, you know, they've got this potential that, and the confidence that they can sometimes be a little bit forceful towards other people. So they push their ideas onto other people, or they disregard what other people say because they can only see what they want and where they're going. And there's an element of selfishness in there. So it's all me. And they want to develop themselves, but it can start to slide into a situation where they're becoming selfish about that. So, you know, everyone needs to do some sort of self-development. And I think it's really important for the one because they're all about themselves. But they also have to make sure that they make space for other people to do that, because it's not only about them. They have to remember that they have to bring everyone along with them because, you know, the whole is just as important as the singular. So we look at some oil recommendations for the one. You know, that self-confidence that they're an out of balance one can actually be a little bit lacking in confidence. So, you know, cassia, the oil of self-assurance, could be a really beautiful oil to use there just to help confirm how amazing and beautiful the one is. You know, and I think oregano is a really good oil for the opinionated one. It's the oil of humility and non-attachment. So, you know, it's important to be able to detach from something and stand back and say, yeah, okay, I see your point of view and maybe it is valid. Or to be a bit humble in the way we're going about things and not so upfront and forceful. So you can see how the oils start to tie in with using them to help develop yourself. So we go on to the beautiful shy number 2. You know, the 2's just tucked away over here on the side, doesn't want to make a fuss, just wants everybody to get along. And the 2 has this really beautiful nurturing energy. So, you know, I think of beautiful Mother Mary in the blue, just really soft and peaceful. And, you know, ready, the one there ready to swaddle up that baby and care for it and just make sure that it's getting what it needs to grow and blossom. And, you know, that really peacefulness. And I notice that our middle guy Hardy has got a lot of 2s, and yeah, he can be rowdy and a really rough little boy, but at the core, he's just got this really gentle, soft peacefulness about him. You know, when you're around him, he just radiates this calm that you just don't get from anybody else. It's just, you know, an inner peace that goes beyond and is radiated and shared out to other people. And so 2 is all about communication. You know, I think of the 2 as sitting over the throat chakra. It's blue, so it sits in here. And, you know, it's about being a really good, peaceful communicator, you know, communicating with this really peaceful authority. So people understand what you're saying and they respect it because you've got this air of authority about you. But also that sometimes the communication can be a little bit off. So we notice with Hardy that because, the twos want everybody else to be really happy. So, he will forgo what he wants or forgo speaking up to keep the other kids happy. And when he starts to do that, he starts to stutter because he's suppressing himself. He's not being heard. And so then he struggles to get the words out. So that's something that we've noticed. And so we're starting to nurture that and nurture him speaking up, making sure the others, it's quiet. It's Heidi's turn now. He has something to say as well. And, encouraging him to speak up and say what he needs to say, because that communication is so important to the number 2. And the number 2 is really sensitive, super sensitive, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So, physically the 2, they react to temperature, they react to taste, to texture, to smell. It's any of those senses. It's really strong for the 2, and they're really sensitive. And, emotionally, they feel what other people are feeling. They can walk into a room and they can work out who's happy, who's sad, who's angry, who's mad, whatever it is, they can feel it. And, they start to take it on board. And sometimes they can get mixed up and feel like it's their own. So it's really important that the 2 starts to learn ways to manage that. It's okay to feel what other people feel, but you can't take it on board as your own. They're really empathetic because they've got this sensitive nature. They feel how other people feel. They can understand them. They are literally putting themselves in somebody else's shoes and feeling what they feel to get an understanding of that person and where they're coming from. And they take it that next step further by communicating that to other people. So they can be a really good peacemaker and a mediator by working things out between people, because they really and truly understand how that other person feels, and they've got the ability to communicate that out to other people. So things that the 2 needs to be a little bit careful of are that it can be a pushover, because it is that peacemaker. People start to push it around because they think they can take advantage of them. They think that they're not going to kick up a fuss, so I'll just take that off them, or I'm just going to make sure that they don't get that, or I'm taking this opportunity over them because I know that they won't say anything. So the 2 has to really, start to stand up for themselves. The other thing the 2 needs to be really careful of is that they become dependent on others. So because the 2's this nurturer and they really like caring for other people and understanding them, they can start to depend on that for their own self-worth. So they get in a situation where helping other people is the only way they feel good about themselves. So you really have to learn that you can help other people, but you have to help yourself. It always has to start with yourself. I think that's where the 1 and the 2 can really work together, because the 1 is all about me and the 2 is all about them. So, if they can get that balance between themselves, it's just perfect and things will just be amazing. So some oil recommendations for the 2. I think that sensitivity thing is really, really, really important. And I know in our house, Hardy, his favourite oil is On Guard. We use it every day regardless, but if he picks an oil, 9 times out of 10, he will pick On Guard because it gives him that protection he needs. Because it's not just physical protection, it's emotional and spiritual protection. So he applies it and it's protecting him from taking on other people's emotions, or, if there's something happening energetically, he can cope with it because he's got this, protective layer around him. And we use lots of other things as well for him because we find he's so sensitive. We use a lot of crystals. We have, the Orosoma color stuff. And because it's so important and it gets really overwhelming. So people with a 2 who don't cope with their sensitivity, quite often they'll start to put on weight because they need that layer of fat as a physical barrier for them taking on other people's things. Or it's stuff they've taken on from other people and now have to store in their body because they're not working out ways to transmute it and get rid of it. So that, to me, I think is one of the really important things that the 2 needs to look into. So, On Guard's the oil of protection, or maybe you want Terra Armour or tea tree, or even clove could be a good one. There's a few options there. So find out which one really resonates with you and then start to tap into it and use it. And I think the other good oil for the 2 is ginger, which is the oil of empowerment. So, empowering the 2 to stand up for themselves and stay strong in what they believe and not take on other people's beliefs just because it makes them happy. So the number 3, you go from this really strong independent 1 to this, soft number 2, and they come together to make number 3. Number 3 is like the cosmic child. It's, it's the party number. It's really social. Being social is vitally important to someone with a 3. They're the person that flits around the room and talks to everybody and has conversations and just makes everyone feel like they're having fun. And I noticed this because I don't have a 3, but my daughter does. And so, she likes being social. When we go out, it's not that she goes and plays with other kids. She just likes being around people. And I know that, every day I say, what do you want to do? She wants to go to the park. She wants to go to the library. She wants to go to playgroup. She wants to go somewhere where there's people around, because for her, that's a bit of an outlet and it's really nourishing for her soul. They're effervescent. So this bubbly, bright number that just bounces into the room and everyone knows that they're there. There's so much fun to be around. And yeah, they just bubble everywhere. I love the number 3. I think because I don't have one, I just really admire the 3 and that energy that they put out. The 3 is really creative. As a color, I think of 3 as like turquoise and, the fun-loving dolphins in the ocean and, this amazing creative energy that they bring in. And it's creative in all aspects of life. So, maybe it's the way they write. Maybe it's the way they speak, the dress. They might be into painting. They could be into, drawing. They could be sewing. There's just so many possibilities. And, it's another way for them to get an outlet of this abundant amount of energy that they have. So being creative is something that is important for a 3 and that they excel at. When they really concentrate and put their energy into it, they really, really excel at being creative. They're free flowing. So, like I said before, the ocean and the dolphins, they just flow with everything. They just move and go. And, usually nothing's a hassle. They just go with whatever is happening. Think of it like a river, just flowing, just moving. They're really expressive. So they speak of their emotions and they express how they feel. And, they talk about things that maybe other people are a little bit closed about because they like to express and show who they are through communication, through the clothes that they wear, through the way that they move. Any way that they can express themselves is important for the 3. So something that the 3 can work on is they can get jealous. So because they're this social, bubbly, expressive person, if they feel like somebody else comes in and threatens that, they can get really jealous of that person. And, that jealousy quite often descends into gossip. So they can be really cutting in the way that they say things. So they might feel a certain way and they don't think about, delivering that in a way that's, takes into account how other people feel. They just say it. And it can be really cutting. And, that the thing of the jealousy and the gossip, never tell a secret to someone with a 3 because they'll struggle to keep that secret. I noticed it with sailing. When I was away a couple of months ago, I was talking to her on the phone. And I said, oh, what are you guys doing? She had the car keys. And I said, where are you going? Where have you got the car keys? And she's like, shops. And I said, oh, what are you going to shops for? She said, chips. I was like, oh, you having chips for dinner? And Luke's in the background saying, shh, I'm supposed to tell Mom that, They just can't help themselves. They just express it. For them, there's no point in keeping a secret. Just share it. So it's an interesting thing, but, sometimes you have to just be careful. If you do have something that you don't want people to know, just be careful what you tell the 3. So some recommendations for oils, because they've got this free flowing energy, sometimes they can get a little bit scattered, and, sometimes they get lost in that flow, and they forget that sometimes they have to be grounded. So, balance is a really good oil for bringing them back down. It's the oil of grounding. Or even vetiver, which is the oil of centering and descent, can just bring them back into themselves, back into the now, so that they can, be productive in whatever they're doing. And citrus bliss, which is the oil of creativity. Sometimes the three gets out of that creative flow and they need a little bit of help to get back in it. So citrus bliss is a beautiful, beautiful oil that can really help to just kickstart that flow again. Number 4. So this number I just love because it's me all over. I just resonate with every single part of it. I could talk about it for days. Organized. The 4 is organized, super duper organized. And I always thought everybody was like that. And I would often get quite frustrated because, why couldn't people keep things as organized as me? Why doesn't everybody pack their dishwasher with, all the forks here and all the spoons there, and, put the plates in order of the way you're going to unpack it, and, hang the washing on the line in a certain order. I've got this hectic way I hang my clothes on the line, and nobody else does that. And I had no idea. I just thought that, number one, I thought they were lazy. And I thought everyone had this inbuilt organization. It turns out they don't. Something I've learned from numerology. They've got a really solid foundation. So, you think of 4 as like this box, and the basis of the box is this solid foundation. And, once that solid foundation's down, you can build whatever you want on top of that, and it is not going to go anywhere. It is just rock solid in what it does. It puts those foundations down, it puts the hard work in, and it just makes sure things are going to go onwards and upwards. And so they're really hardworking. I used to, my husband and I, before we had kids, or even when we had kids, I used to work in an office, and I used to just work all the time. I did so much overtime. I loved my job. I wanted to be in the office. I wanted to be doing work. I'd never ever for a minute thought, I hate doing this. Why am I here? I just really enjoyed it. And, we used to have arguments about it all the time. Why are you doing so much overtime? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, because I really love it. I enjoy working hard. It's just a part of the 4 and who they are. And so, that hard work can sometimes turn into overwork where you put the blinkers on and you don't even look. Routine is really important for the 4. So I like structure. I like things to be the same way, same time, every day. Mondays we stay at home, Tuesdays we go to the library, Wednesdays we go to playgroup, Thursdays we go to the park, Fridays we do something else. There's a structure and order to my week, and generally that doesn't change. And I am happy with that. I'm happy to go to the same park every week. I'm happy to, catch up with the same people all the time. And, that's the routine. I'm happy to eat the same thing for breakfast every day. It doesn't worry me. I actually really enjoy that routine. But, my kids don't like that because, I've got 2 kids with 3s and 2s, and I've got one that's got a 4 and a 5. So they like a little bit more spontaneity. So that's something that I've had to work on, to let go and start to move into being not quite so rigid. And the 4's really consistent. So, they're hardworking, they put down this solid foundation, they organize the way they're going to do things, and they just keep on chipping away until they get this amazing structure that they want, whatever that is. It could be the way they have their family set up, it could be how they run their business, it could just be how they, get a project done, it could be anything, but they're really consistent. So, with a 4, if you give them a task, they're going to organize it really well. They're going to map it all out, and they're going to be consistent with applying whatever you've asked them to do. Something that the 4 can really work on, and I know for myself, this is something that I absolutely needed to work on, was that manipulation and being manipulative. So I used to, because I've got a way I hang the clothes on the line, and, I didn't like it when my husband would do it because I'm a little bit controlling as well. I would manipulate the situation so he never hung the clothes on the line because I just couldn't deal with it because I thought he doesn't hang them on the line the same way that I hang them on the line. How am I going to get them off and fold them up and put them away? And it just did my head in. He even said to me the other night, he was hanging the washing out, and I poked my head out and I said, oh, I'm just going to go and do this now. And he said, oh. And I said, oh, okay. He said, you just don't want to come out here because I'm hanging the clothes on the line wrong. I was like, yeah, there was a little element of truth in that, but I actually took them off yesterday after he'd hung them out, and they weren't in the order that I hang them in. And you know what? The world didn't end. I got the clothes off the line, I got them folded up, and I got them put away, and it wasn't this big deal that I thought it was going to be. So that controlling and manipulative thing where I would manipulate the situation so that he never had the opportunity to hang the clothes on the line, because I didn't want him to, because it would freak me out. And that extends to lots of other things as well, manipulating people or places or things so that you get what you want. And I think my husband's a really good partner for me like that, because he can just say straight through it. He's like, why are you trying to do that? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, don't do that. I can tell that you're trying to manipulate me. Just tell me what you want. He's really straightforward and upfront. What you see is what you get. And that controlling thing. So trying to control every single situation. And, for me, having, I've got 3 young children, and, I had them all really close together. And so I realized I could not control every single little aspect of my life anymore, because I had 3 little people depending on me. And so for me, that was a really good way of letting go of control. I can't do everything. I'm going to hand that on to somebody else now. See, I could talk about the 4 all day. And I'm just talking about myself, really, or an aspect of myself. So the oil recommendations for the 4. Cilantro, which is the oil of releasing control. You can't control everything. And, by trying to control everything, you're actually stopping somebody else from being who they are. And I was finding that because I had, things in the house were set up a certain way and I wanted them to be there. But then by doing that, I was stopping Luke from being able to express himself by, decorating a room the way he wanted to, or having something out, or, putting a book here, or whatever it was. By me being controlling, he couldn't do that. And so he was suppressing himself then. I also think cypress, which is the oil of motion and flow. So being more flexible, just being able to move. It's fine to have that box and that foundation, but you also have to be able to move. So once you build something on top of that, you don't want it to be so rigid that it's, the first bit of wind is just going to fall over. You want it to be able to move just a little bit, like a tree, just moving a bit so that it can be solid but flexible. I also think lang lang, which is the oil of the inner child, because, with all that hard work and organisation that comes with a 4, that can get quite serious. So, being able to tap back into that inner child to say, where's that fun gone? Where's that little bit of carefree spontaneity? That's really important for a 4 to tap into. So the 5, beautiful, bouncy number 5. So the 4's, in this box, and then the 5 comes along and just wants to be out of it. Doesn't want to know anything about what's in here. It just wants to know what's out here. And so it bounces out of that box and it gets out there and just wants to explore and find things. And the 5 is really talkative, super duper, talks flat out, conversationalist. You can be sure that when you're around someone with a 5, you will never be short of conversation. My eldest boy, Tully, is born on the 4th or the 5th. So it took him a little while to talk, but once he did, he just spoke in full sentences. He does not stop talking. From the minute he wakes up until the minute he goes to bed, he's just flat out. I kid you not. And he's always asking questions, and he always wants to know why. And it's just this, sometimes it gets on a loop where he's just talking for the sake of talking. And then that, plays into what Hardy's going through with the 2, where he's just sitting back, waiting. And then he starts to stutter because he can't get in. And then he gets more stressed because Tully's yelling at him and blah. So, you can see how the numbers work together for Hardy to really learn with a strong talker that he needs to stand up for himself. And for Tully to learn that I've got this really soft person over here. I really need to learn to tone it down a bit and go, hang on a minute, mate. Would you like to have a turn? They're really physical. So the 5, you think of a 5, it's a head, it's 2 arms, it's 2 legs. That's 5. They're about the body. So, nurturing and nourishing the body is important for the 5. And, sometimes it forgets that. And so it goes to the other way of, just totally disregarding the body and not being interested in nourishing not just their soul, but their body. And the 5's got this really amazing charisma. So quite often the 5 will attract the opposite sex without even trying. They've just got this magic that comes from them that just attracts people. The 5 is all about adventure. It wants to get out there and explore and see what's out there. It's looking for freedom. And, after the 4's in the box and the 5 jumps out, the 5 is looking on the outside for its freedom. And, it tries to find that through adventure. So it goes out and explores the world, or it starts doing different things to seek that freedom, because, it's forgotten that, true freedom's within, looking into your own heart space and seeing what's in there and being able to express that out. That is true freedom. But the 5's looking for the freedom on the outside, and has to remember to come back in and say, okay, what's in here? What am I here for? And I think because it's always going out and looking for this sense of freedom, that it can get a bit indulgent. So, maybe it's excessive in the types of activities it does, or the food and the drink that it consumes. It could just be indulgent in, maybe it's a spiritual practice they're indulgent in. But, there has to be a sense of balance in there. There's no point going all the way up here, and there's no point being all the way down here. It has to be somewhere in the middle. And the 5 really needs to remember that. And the 5 can be a little bit unreliable, because it's always out there seeking adventure and seeking new things. It always wants to push the boundaries. And we notice this so much with Tully, that you set a boundary and he's like, oh yeah, cool, goes past it. So you set another boundary and he's like, oh yeah, cool, goes past it. And it's just this constant battle. And, when he was younger, I was just pulling my hair out, because it's like, why would this kid listen? Like, seriously, I'm not asking it to do rocket science. I'm just asking simple things. And he just would not. He would just push the boundaries, push the boundaries, push the boundaries. So they get really unreliable, because you don't know if you're going to ask them to do something. Are they going to do it? Are they just going to disregard everything you've said? Do they even, it gets to the point where it's like, do they even care about what you're asking or how you're feeling or what you want? So, that unreliability can creep in with the 5. And so, they need to start to, it's great to go out and have adventures, and it's really good to push the boundaries, because, that's how we get somewhere. Someone pushes the boundaries. Someone says, no, you can't do that. That's never been done before. And someone comes along and pushes it and goes, yeah, you can. But, find that freedom within. Really go within to your own heart to make sure that you're getting that sense of freedom from within. So, the oil recommendations, there's a few there, but, fennel, the oil of responsibility, I think is a really good, important oil for the 5. Learning to, get that sense of freedom, but being responsible about what you're doing. If you're making a commitment to somebody else, follow through. You don't always have to push the boundaries just for the sake of pushing the boundaries. Pick and choose which things you're going to push and which things you're just going to sit within. Grapefruit, the oil of honoring the body. The body is so important for the 5. They're here for a physical experience, that they need to really appreciate and respect their body. So grapefruit is a beautiful, beautiful oil to use. And, I noticed, Tully always notices people's physical appearance. And, he's 4 years old, so there's no judgment there. He doesn't say, oh, look, they've got a fat tummy, because he's like, oh, that's disgusting. He just notices the physical composition of people. And, just recently, someone came over that was, had a bit of a tummy and was a little bit overweight, and Tully went and picked out grapefruit and brought it over to me. And when he gave it to me, I knew that he wasn't picking it for himself. He was picking it for that person, because he knew that they needed some help, that they weren't honoring their body, and that they needed some guidance and some support from the oil to get back into a space where they could. I'm grateful that he didn't give it to that person, because, some people aren't ready to hear, some things about themselves. So, but, you know, kids are so amazing at just cutting through the crap, and to just be able to see that true person, that soul, and what that soul is asking for. Kids are just amazing at it. I don't think we give them enough credit. You know, quite often my kids pick things for me because I still sometimes have a hard time identifying what I need. And so my kids will just go and pick an oil out and bring it over to me and be like, oh, here you go, mum. Or they'll go and get a crystal, or, you know, they'll pick a cold therapy pomander out for me and say, you know, what about this, mum? So it's amazing that, you know, they can't read. We have never taught them, you know, we've never sat them down and intellectually taught them about any of the tools that we use, but they just intuitively know. And I think that goes for all kids too. It's not, you know, my kids don't have this special, amazing talent. I think that's everyone, all kids and all adults. We can all tap back into that. We just have to work on it to, you know, shed those conditioned patterns that we've picked up. Sorry, I got a little off track there. Just gonna have a drink of water before I keep going. So number 6. 6 is all about the family. And, you know, I think of 6, if you look at it, it's like this, you know, this head and this body, and then coming around to this big pregnant belly. It's this beautiful number. And family is really important to the 6. And, you know, I think that people with a 6 have this idealistic view of what family should be like. You know, everyone in the family should get along and should be connected and stay in touch, and we should get together because, you know, we're family and family is really important. And sometimes they struggle a little bit to realize that, you know, yes, we are a family, but we're a family of individual people, and we all have different wants and needs and desires and ideas on how things should play out. So it's beautiful. I think it's really important to have this respect and connection to the family. But, you know, I think the 6 needs to be able to step back and say, okay, I realize that these are my views on how the family should be. And that, you know, maybe somebody else doesn't think we have to catch up every month and have lunch and do this and do that. You know, maybe that's not their belief structure. So beauty, the 6 recognizes and can see the beauty in everything. So the 6 can look at a person and they can look within and see that beautiful light that's shining out, and they can connect and understand with that inner beauty of somebody. And they also appreciate the external physical beauty. So, you know, they notice if someone's got their hair done, or they've got a new haircut, or they're wearing a new top or clothes. They can appreciate that beautiful aspect of the physical side as well. And, you know, community is important. So, you know, you think of the ideals that the 6 has created with the family, and they extend that out to the community. You know, they've got an idea of how the community should run, how they should be interconnected and work together. Domestic responsibility is important for the 6. So taking care of the family in a domestic way, you know, maybe that's being the one that cooks the meals and does the washing and the cleaning and all of that sort of thing. Or maybe that's because you're the one that goes out and earns the money so that the family can be provided for. In some way, that domestic responsibility for the 6, they have to play a role in that. And it's a strong part of who they are, being able to provide for their family in some way. Balance. So, you know, in the tarot, the 6 is the Lovers. You know, it's the balancing of the male and the female, the coming together of the 2 aspects of the self to bring about a sense of balance. You know, the male and the female, it's, you know, you can't have the male being so strong. I'm talking about the male aspect of yourself. So, you know, like the intellectual, analytical side, you know, it has to be balanced by the left, the female, softer, emotional aspect. I mean, you want balance between those 2. And that's what the 6 is about, bringing about that balance of those 2 aspects. So because the 6 can see the beauty in things, it can get a little bit superficial. So, you know, they forget to look at that inner light, and they forget to connect with their heart and say, wow, that's a really beautiful soul there. And they start to just look at, oh, they drive a beautiful car. their house is really nice, and they start to make their connections based on those external things. You know, their life becomes superficial, and they don't have the deep connections with people. And then that's when their sense of family and community falls away. And the 6 can get disappointed. So, you know, the 6 has got this idea of the family and how it should be and how they should interact. And when that doesn't happen, the 6 gets disappointed and they start to get down. And then they, you know, disconnect from the family because they're not getting what they think should happen. And the 6 really has to remember that, you know, the only way you can get disappointed is by having expectations. And if you put expectations on other people that are your own beliefs, you're bound to be disappointed. I'm sorry, but you have to be able to let go of that. It's okay to have expectations and put things out there and say, you know, I think that we should do this as a family, and I think we should do that, and what about this? But detach from it and be able to, you know, if someone comes back and says, no, I don't agree, be able to say, oh, okay, well, what do you think? And grow and develop from there. You know, be the person in the family that is accepting and is, you know, has that nurturing quality to them. And, you know, put high expectations out there, but don't attach, you know, your belief in outcomes to it, because you will get disappointed. And then from there, that hurt just builds and resentment starts to breed. So the oils for the 6, I think black pepper is a really, really important one for the 6. It's the oil of unmasking. So, you know, it teaches the individual to let go of the masks that you put up and to look beyond those to that true inner light. And the 6 can already do that, but sometimes it needs a little bit of support to keep doing that. And also thyme, which is the oil of releasing and forgiveness. So, you know, when that hurt and disappointment starts to pile up, to be able to just let go of that and just to move forward through it. And, you know, don't hold it, because all you're doing is making yourself hurt. Let go, move on, create a new paradigm, you know, put out there your expectations, but don't attach any emotion to it. The number 7. So this is also a number that I really connect with, because I've got a lot of 7s in my chart, and I don't have a 7 in my birthday. I've only got 4, 8, a 1 and a 9. So, but the 7 was something that I realized I really needed to work on. And since I've started working on it, I've noticed some big changes in myself, and I'm much happier, you know, because I'm not hiding who I am. So the 7 is the seeker. They're here to find out the deeper meaning of life. You know, they understand that what you see may be not what you get. You know, maybe there's more to life. There's a deeper side of why we're here and what we're doing and what is that. And they want to go out and find that. And they will use whatever means they've got to be able to get the answers for that. You know, they want the truth. They just want to know the truth. And, you know, whatever that truth may be, doesn't matter as long as they find out the truth. And then from there, they can work out what they're going to do with it. They're really intellectual. So they're in their head, and they use that to seek the answers. So they'll read books, they'll watch documentaries, they'll do whatever they can get their hands on to find that truth. You know, why am I here, and what am I doing, and, you know, what else is out there, and how do I find these things? That the 7 just wants to know the answers. And, you know, quite often they'll be asking a lot of questions because they want to know. Trust. And this is a big thing that I've started to learn. Trusting in myself, you know, really trusting that strong intuition that comes from a 7 and following it. And, you know, trusting this higher sense of who we are. You know, maybe you call it God or love or the universe, whatever you want to call it, but trusting in that, you know, you're going to be provided for, or whatever path you take is going to be the right one. Don't get so hung up on the details. Don't over intellectualize things. Just trust. And, you know, the intuition is really strong in the 7. And this is something I used to get really frustrated about, because Luke's, my husband's, got a 7 in his birthday. And he still does it now all the time. And he'll say, oh, I've got to do this. And it's like, why? I'm really logical. The 4's a logical number. Like, why? I just feel like that's what we've got to do. And I'd be like, pulling my hair out, because it's like, what do you mean you feel like it? What does that mean? So I think, he's always trusted his intuition. Maybe sometimes he hasn't acted on it, but there's been a trust there and a knowing that, there is intuition there. But okay, sometimes you don't follow it, but in every moment you have a choice, truth or untruth. That's the only choices you have. So which one are you going to go with? Are you going to follow truth and trust your intuition? Or are you going to follow untruth and bury that intuition a little bit? Because one day you're going to have to start to dig it out. How many layers are you going to put on? How long is it going to take to dig all of that untruth up so that your intuition and trust can come through? And something that the 7 can struggle with a little bit is paranoia. So being paranoid that, they're finding answers out that, maybe other people aren't quite ready to hear, or, maybe it's not somebody else's truth, but they start to get paranoid and think, they can't go out and they can't interact with other people because, they think they're crazy because they're coming up with these new ideas and they don't have any evidence to back them up because they're just using their intuition. So they start to get really paranoid and confused. They don't know what path they're taking and they don't really know why they're here. You can see the 7 over here. It's got all these different hats on. Which hat am I wearing today? Which bag am I carrying? What book am I reading this information from? What time is it? Where am I? They just get confused because, once they start to open up and take the scales away and see the truth, once you see truth, you can't go back. It can't ever be untruth again. You can choose not to follow it. You can choose to deny it, but it's still truth. And deep down, it's truth. So, make that decision to just keep following truth and see where it's going to take you. The oil recommendations. For me, lavender, which is the oil of communication, has been just the most amazing, beautiful support. She's such a gorgeous oil. I love her so much and I use her all the time. Actually, I just used it today because I burnt my finger, which is another thing. But, lavender helps people who suppress communication because they're afraid of showing who they are. So, it helps bring about that trust in communication and openness in sharing and saying, well, this is what I think. This is my truth. And it's okay for other people not to share in that truth. And it's even okay if people persecute you because of that truth. But you've still followed your truth. And so that's the important part. I also think clary sage, which is the oil of clarity and vision. It helps you to see the truth. And it helps you to acknowledge and say, okay, that is the truth. I'm not going to go back now. I see that truth. I'm going to follow it or not. And you still have that choice to make every single time. Will I follow truth or won't I? Number 8. So as you can see, 8's this really hot, fiery number. And, what does fire do? It attracts. Whenever there's a fire, people want to go up. They want to put their hands out, mesmerized by these flames and the flickering and how they move. And that's what the 8's all about. It's about abundance. So, 8 is never ending. It's infinite. It's the infinity sign on its side. And I think that the 8 understands that, the universe is created and made up of energy. That's all it is. Some energy is more dense than others. We can see some, we can't see some, but everything everywhere is energy. So the 8 understands that, there is this abundant amount of energy here and it can create what it wants with that. And so it can create an abundant amount of wealth. It knows how to handle money. It knows how to create money. It knows how to share money. Any type of wealth, the 8 is so great at creating. And it's all about power. You talk about the 1 being a leader by example and a pioneer where other people just follow. Whereas the 8 is a true leader. It can stand up and attract people and hold them in its power because it understands what it can do with that power and how it can influence and change things. And I think also with the power of the 8 that, you know, sometimes it can slip into a situation where it becomes power hungry or it abuses its power of other people. And, you know, there's karma associated with that. So the 8 is a number of karma. It's all about sowing what you want to reap. You know, do you want to sow beautiful seeds of nourishing, amazing energy, or do you want to sow seeds of just crap that, you know, is coming back to you? Maybe it's not in this lifetime, I don't know, but at some point in your existence you are going to reap the rewards of what you have sown. So, you know, sow the seeds of beautiful, amazing things. Why not? Even if you don't get them this time, you will get them at some point. Your soul will receive that, and just be thankful for that. You know, my husband showed me this beautiful little picture one day, and it said, you know, a wise man plants a tree for somebody else. And it's like, that is so beautiful. And that's what the 8's about. You know, plant those seeds of karma so that you get good things down the track. Maybe you don't get to sit under that tree and enjoy it. Somebody else will, but you will get that love somewhere else down the track in another way. You know, it's about doing what makes the heart sing. So, you know, in the tarot, you look at the 8 and, you know, they've got the scales, and the heart's being weighed against a feather. You know, you want your heart to be as light as a feather. Did you let that music out of your heart? Did you let your heart sing and share your passion with the world? Because that is what makes the 8 happy. You know, it needs to do that. Sing, letting the music out, letting the joy be spread, because that will make your heart light. And then when you pass over into the next life, you'll have that amazing lightheartedness about you that then you can bring in. You know, you've got those good seeds of karma just at your back waiting to be, you know, watered and nourished. So the things that the 8 needs to be a little bit careful of is that they can be opportunistic. So they've got this amazing power where they attract people in. They can start to abuse that power and be opportunistic, take advantage of other people. You know, that's when they start to sow those seeds of crap where, you know, it's not helping anybody because you're not making anybody get anywhere this time, and you're also giving yourself, you know, a handbrake later on. So the power struggle is also something that could come up with the 8. And, you know, we noticed this in our house because I'm born in August, so I've got an 8. And my husband's born on the 17th. So, you know, 1 and 7 comes to 8. And we always have had a power struggle. And we didn't even know until my Orasoma teacher, I guess. She's so much more than that. This beautiful lady, Jan, who's, you know, taught me Orasoma, and she's kind of adopted Luke as, you know, her son, because they've got exactly the same birth date. The number's the same. The year, Luke's 84, she's 48. Exactly the same. It's like when I first met her, she said to me, "Oh, you're Alison." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Your husband's got the same birth numbers as me." And I was like, "Oh, that's good." Like it didn't click with me. And now I'm like, oh my God, like there's so many things where I'm like, oh wow, they're so similar. So that's what I mean, the birth numbers. And, you know, isn't it amazing that, you know, they connected, that, you know, she lives in Bathurst and we live in Singleton, and, you know, somewhere along the way our paths have crossed and they've got this connection, and she's taught us so much stuff. It is just amazing. But anyway, I got a little off track there. So she's the one who pointed out, she's like, "Oh, geez, you guys must have a few power struggles in your house." And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And she said, "Well, you've got an 8 and Luke's got an 8. So like, you know, you're butting heads. You're like coming up against each other." And so for us, that was like a light bulb moment. It was like, oh my goodness, we do. And it's not helping. It's like so detrimental and so irritating and whatever. So now we've got to deal with each other. We call it the captain of the ship. So, you know, Luke's better at being the captain of the ship sometimes, and sometimes I'm better at being the captain of the ship. So we've worked it out. And, you know, I can say to him, are you the captain or am I? And then one person can be in control and the other person can just be led. And, you know, we balance it up like that. So we've identified there where there's a problem where we're all butting heads, and we've actually been able to work out a solution to say, okay, how are we going to deal with this? And I guess it's good too to show our kids that, you know, dad's not the boss and mum's not the boss. There's this like balance, this flowing balance of, you know, sometimes dad's the boss. Sometimes dad's telling mum and the kids what to do. And then sometimes mum's the boss and mum's telling mum and the kids what to do. It just evens it out in a really flowing way. You know, it's not one up all the time, one down. It's just, you know, ebb and flow of what's happening. So the oil recommendations for the 8, you know, wild orange, which is the oil of abundance, is fantastic for the 8 that's forgotten that the universe is abundant, that's got into a scarcity mindset. You know, I'm taking all these people for my team because there's no one else out there. Or, you know, I'm not going to share these ideas with anybody because then they'll steal them. Or, you know, even within your family, like, you know, hiding things because you don't want somebody else. It's just, you know, saving away all your money and never, ever sharing it out there because you think that there's never going to be any more. You know, outlet determines inlet. You have to give out stuff. You can't hold energy. You know, you have a certain amount of energy you can hold, but it has to be flowing. So keep the energy moving because, you know, the more you give out, the more that's coming down from this amazing universal energy, love, whatever you want to call it. Give out so you can get more. So wild orange is an amazing oil for that. Also wintergreen, which is the oil of surrender. So there's strong-willed. The 8 is strong-willed. You know, they want that power. So, you know, wintergreen teaches to just surrender. Okay, there is a will up there that is more than mine. You know, thy will, not my will. This is something that I have struggled with a lot because it's like, I don't care if the universe is giving me signs to go that way. I bloody well want to go this way. So I've had a few smacks over the head from the universe where I've gone with my will and it hasn't worked out. I need to follow thy will because there's a bigger picture out there than just me or just you. There's something greater out there than us, this individual. And, you know, we are all connected as one. So, you know, maybe it feels like this time you're going with thy will and it's not getting where you want to go. But down the track, it will happen. You've just got to be open to saying, okay, I will follow thy will and not my will this time. So, you know, wintergreen is an amazing oil for that, surrendering to that higher power and just being open to whatever will come through, you know, being a chalice of light and letting it flow down. Number 9, which is just, I think of number 9 as 6 and 2, which, you know, mathematically adds to 8, but, you know, I don't care about that. 6 and 2 come to 9 for me. You know, there's an element of both in those that I can really see in the 9. You know, it's about unconditional love. It's this amazing love that goes beyond anything you have ever experienced. You know, you think of an animal where, you know, let's talk a dog. I've got a dog, so I really connect with dogs. You know, they can be sitting at home all day on their own. You know, you see dogs that get treated really cruelly and they still come back and love their master. You know, I know with our dog, I can tell him to go away or I can lock him out because we're doing something in the backyard and the kids are eating food or whatever. And as soon as you open the gate and come back out, he's happy to give you a hug and a cuddle and a lick and a play and whatever else. You know, if you did that to a person, they would have the shits, you know. So the 9 has this unconditional love, like that love that you get from animals and babies and children. You know, I can get cranky at my kids and send them to their room. And as soon as I go in there, they say, I love you, Mum. You know, and that's what the 9 is like. They just love you. And it's just so beautiful to be loved no matter what. You know, it doesn't matter what's happened in your past. It doesn't matter what you've done or how you are now. You're still loved. You know, they've got this compassion. So, you know, they love unconditionally. So they're compassionate. You know, they understand that people have, you know, aspects of themselves that aren't perfect and they still love them, and they're compassionate and they can say, you know, well, what's happened to that person? Why are they like that? And what can we do to love and support them so that they can become a better version of themselves? That compassion. And they're a real humanitarian. So, you know, they're out there looking to help other people. They're not about themselves. They're looking to help others. They're forgiving. And I think this is a little bit of a downfall for the 9 as well, where, you know, something happens or they're in a situation or someone does something to them that's not good. And they just forgive and forget. They just say, come here, I still love you. But that can turn into a little bit of a vicious cycle. They are romantic. You know, I've got the love heart there. And, you know, I think of a love heart as romantic and beautiful and loving, and just the 9 is such a special number. And so, you know, connected with the forgiving nature of the and the romantic nature of the 9, you know, I think with the romantic thing, you know, they've got this, you know, the 6 has this vision of how it sees the family should be. Well, the 9 takes that further, and it's got a vision of how everyone should be. You know, everyone should just love each other and be really compassionate and forgiving. You know, it's got that romantic notion of how everything should be just so harmonious and beautiful. And I think once it gets in a situation where if that doesn't happen, it gets bitter and it starts to resent other people because they aren't living up to their expectations of how they see the world should be. And it starts to hurt them. Or, you know, they start to become the doormat. So they get in this cycle of someone does something to them and they get hurt and they forgive and forget. And then that thing happens again and again and again and again. And they just get in this vicious cycle of pain and hurt that turns them into a doormat. And people treat them like crap because they know that they're going to get forgiven and they know that it's going to be forgotten, and then they can just do it again. So the 9 has to really learn to stand up for themselves and say, no, I forgive you and I love you, but I will not let that happen again. And then they can go on and still have this unconditional love. But, you know, it's an unconditional love where they say, I love you, I don't like what you did, and I don't want that to happen again. And if it does, then they can honestly say, I can't be a part of your life. So the oils for the number 9. And, you know, I think my top pick for the 9 would be rose, which, you know, is a very difficult one to get. It's the oil of divine love, you know, this unconditional love that goes beyond anything I think anyone would remember experiencing. You know, if you can't honestly look at yourself and say, I love every single aspect of myself, you can't love every single aspect of somebody else. So you have to love yourself unconditionally before you can go out and love others. And for me, that, you know, being able to love my kids unconditionally has been like a driving force for my self-development, because I can't give them anything I don't have myself. I know I don't love myself unconditionally, so I can't love my kids unconditionally. So for me, that's a driving force to, you know, keep going, keep getting, you know, getting rid of these layers of untruth and crap from who I am. So the oil of divine love. I also think geranium, which is the oil of love and trust, would be a fantastic oil, you know, to open the heart and keep that heart going, even if it gets broken or hurt, you know, keeping the heart open, because that's what the 9's for, you know, that sharing that unconditional love. I also think thyme, which is the oil of releasing and forgiving, is another good one to be able to release the bitterness and the hurt and pain. You know, using geranium and thyme together could be a really good combination to say, okay, I'm letting go of this stuff. I'm keeping my heart open. You know, maybe a bit of clove or something in there to set some boundaries to say, you can't treat me that way. So now we go on to the master numbers. Sorry, this talking is so much. I'm just going to use a little bit of spearmint. Okay. So the master numbers are just something different, you know. They're really powerful numbers. And, you know, I think the word master kind of says a lot about them. They're more intense. There's something a little bit extra to those numbers. You know, I'm still working out exactly my entire belief structure around them, but, I've read people saying that, the master numbers are coming in at a higher vibration. They have mastered the single digits or a single digit, like say for the 11, 1 + 1 is 2. So 11 reduces to a 2. So the 11 has mastered the energy of the 2, and now it's coming in on another level to say, okay, I want to do something with this, and I'm going to share this, higher energy. But it's really challenging because, before you incarnate, you're in this one consciousness where, to achieve that high vibration is much simpler. And then you come down into this physical existence with, you incarnate into a family that's got certain conditioned patterns or genetic things happening, and you pick a name and a birth date that, maybe has a few challenges in there. So, you have to get up to this high vibration again. So it's challenging. It can be a real struggle sometimes, and it requires a lot of self-discipline to keep that vibration there. So I think it's really important. And, it's that pure consciousness. I think that, there's something a little bit more to these master numbers if you can hold it. So you have to be able to hold that high vibration, and if you can't, you drop back down to the single digit. So if you can't maintain that 11 vibration, you become a 2. If you can't maintain that 22, you will come back to a 4. So that's why they can be so challenging. And there's so much potential there for a master number, but you have to be able to hold it. So let's talk about them. Number 11. I see 11 as a gateway. You've got the shoes there standing at the numbers, and they're standing there to step over a gateway. And what is it a gateway to? I think it's a gateway to this peaceful, nurturing energy that's just waiting there to be brought through and shared. I think of the master numbers as teachers. So you're bringing through this really peaceful authority and sharing that with other people and showing other people how to be that and use that and embody that. It's a gateway to something more. The 11 has these really high standards. So it sets these standards for itself, but it also projects those out and sets them for other people. There's a bit of frustration there if they themselves can't achieve those standards, or if the people around them aren't achieving the standards they set. And they have to remember that everyone's on a different level. So, it's really great to have high standards. And, I know one of my uplines, Hayley, she's got an 11 in her birthday. And she does set really high standards. And you know what? She gives me a kick in the ass every single time I need it. And I love that. It's amazing because I'm a procrastinator. I've got Intune here right with me because I lose my focus. I get sidetracked and I start trying to do other things. And, she'll just say, oh, hey, what are you doing with this? And it's like, yeah, okay, I need to do that. And because somebody else has kind of put me on the spot, for me, I'm really competitive. So it's like, okay, well, I've told her I'm going to do it, so I'm going to bloody well do it. So I think it can work really well. But, maybe for somebody else that wouldn't work, and Hayley would work differently with other people. So I think that high standards thing can be really amazing. But, sometimes they can set a high standard for themselves and they just work themselves into the ground. And, they overdo it and they just get to a point where it's all too much. So I have to learn that little bit of balance. So set high standards, that's great, but also be able to accept it if you can't meet it, or if somebody else can't meet it, or be willing to adjust the standard to suit the situation. I'm going to put some Intune on now, actually. Sensitive. So, it's got the 2 in there with the 11. So they're sensitive. And, once again, it's sensitive to, the physical side of things. It's sensitive to the emotional side of things. It's sensitive to the spiritual side of things. So, quite often someone with an 11 could have ESP gifts. So, maybe it's clairvoyance, maybe it's clairaudience, maybe it's clairsentience, any of those, they get messages through from the universe in different ways. They just have to really open themselves up so that they can bring them through and then decide what to do with them. Do they share them? Do they use them? What is it that they do? Trust their intuition to be able to know what to do with those messages, and really work hard on strengthening the intuition and taking up any opportunity that they have to strengthen that, because that's the way forward for them. Instant manifestation. So we talked about the one, they've got this magic ability. They just go, bang, got it. Oh, I want this. Bang. If they truly believe they deserve it, they will get it. They can manifest it. And so the 11 has that, it's 2 ones. And those 2 ones can manifest things instantly. They just have to work on manifesting the right things, and also nourishing and believing in themselves, so that, when they're thinking about, I want to manifest this, they actually believe that they deserve it. And so then they will get it. Impatient. So that's something that the 11 can work on. They set these high standards, and they know that there's this amazing potential and this gateway to so much more out there, but they get impatient in achieving their goals. So they have to be able to step back and say, okay, maybe I can't do that in 3 seconds. Maybe I have to wait 3 months. Or, maybe we just need to slowly set down this foundation and work on it, at a slower pace, because we're going to get there in the end. Selfish. So, the 11 is 2 1. So it's got a bit of an element of selfishness in there. So it can start to forget about the whole, and that, it's here to be a teacher. It's here to guide other people. And it gets selfish and starts just looking after itself and its own wants and needs. So, how can it get out there and support other people? How can it be that gateway? Show other people how to get through that gateway. How can it do that? That's what the 11 needs to think about. So the oils for the 11. I really think that, once again, the clary sage for the intuition, the oil of clarity and vision, I think that that's a really good oil to bring in and to use to support them. Clove, the oil of boundaries, the sensitivity that's there, being able to set up some boundaries so that it's not taking on other people's stuff, so that it can, have space for these messages to come through to it. And balance, the oil of grounding. It is this higher vibration. It is up there. So it needs sometimes to come back down and be in itself and ground down and just be in who it is. So we go on to the second master number, which is 22. It's the master builder. So, the master builder, it's mastered the 4, it's organized, it's structured, it's got its foundation in place, and it is mastering its building going up. So not only can it set down those foundations for itself, it can also show everybody else how to do that. So that's part of being the master builder, is being able to take that out and share it with everybody else. It's successful. So because it knows how to set that foundation, and it knows what it needs to do to get, build up whatever it's building, that it's successful. It's always going to get the outcome that it wants, because it knows how to start out, keep going until it gets there. It's really logical. So it can work out how to get from A to B. It can reverse engineer things. It can just look at a situation, okay, this is what we need to do. It's just got this logical mind that can just work things out. Really good problem solving skills. It's really efficient. So that organizational ability of the 4 comes up into the 22, and it's efficient in everything it does. It doesn't waste energy. It doesn't, get scattered. It's just solid and keeps going, and it's really efficient in everything. So it makes an inspiration a reality. So I think of this as like, the 3 is this really creative number. And, quite often they come up with these inspirational ideas, but, they're flitting from this one to that one and this one and that one. They might have all these different ideas on the go. But the 22 can take that idea and look at it in a logical way, problem solve it, and say, well, this is how we move forward. This is how we make this idea a reality. So, when you get a 22 and a 3 together, perfect. I've got a girlfriend who's got a 22 in her chart, and her husband's got a 3. So, they work so well together, because, he comes home with all these ideas, and she's like, okay, well, hang on a minute. What are we going to do here? And what about this? And maybe about this. And so, and they're starting to, they've got an idea at the moment that they're working with. And they've both got some really good input, and I can just see already how amazing it's going to be, because they're both bringing to this project, let's call it, what they're good at. He's bringing the creativity and all this amazingness. She's bringing all this logic, beautiful ideas. And, you know, when you look at all their other numbers in the charts, they're working so well together, because they understand now. She's into numerology now, so she's understanding what's going on. She's looking into things, and she knows how to make what they're doing successful. And it's just so beautiful to be able to sit back and watch it. I love it. So, you know, something that 22 can work on is that they can be exploitive. So, you know, you think of the 4 has this manipulative characteristic to it. And so the 22 can do that. You know, it gets an inspirational idea and it takes it for its own. You know, whereas it's here to serve. It's here to help other people. So, you know, it can take that inspirational idea and make it a reality that everybody can benefit from, that everybody can share in, instead of just taking things for its own. You know, once it starts to exploit other people, it can become really indifferent, and it stops caring and sharing and loving people. So, you know, I think that that's an important, you know, element to remember for all the master numbers, that they're here to serve. You know, they're here to help, you know, humanity, humankind, all of us, to grow and become better people, or better, you know, have a certain experience as a soul. So they have to make sure that they're always doing that. And that's why it's so much hard work, because they're working for other people, not for themselves. So, you know, some oils for the 22. Cardamom, which is the oil of objectivity. You know, being able to have a bit of self-control. You know, there's with the 4, there's an element of aggression. So being able to control that and not get frustrated or angry when, you know, things aren't going the 22's way. Or, you know, maybe they're sharing and trying to teach and help somebody else, and they're getting frustrated because it's not happening the way they think it should. Cardamom is a beautiful, beautiful oil for that. Cedarwood, which is the oil of community, is a fantastic oil to, you know, remember that we're here to share and serve. You know, share from the heart, serve from the heart, help other people, because by helping somebody else, you're helping yourself. You know, that's one thing that I just adore about doTERRA, is that it's all about community. You know, you get somewhere in, you know, the doTERRA community because you're helping somebody else. You know, you just can't physically do what you have to do on your own. You just can't. It's just impossible. But, you know, you help somebody else achieve a goal, and then that helps you achieve your goal. It's like the most perfect collaborative business structure ever. It is just so amazing. I just love it so much. So, you know, I think that, you know, cedarwood's a really good oil for the 22. Also cinnamon, which is actually the oil of sexual harmony. And I think that, you know, when the 22 becomes indifferent and sort of shuts itself off, it's not about sexual harmony. You know, when you think about, you know, having a sexual relationship with somebody, it's intimate. You know, you don't go out and have a sexual experience with every single person you see, because it's an intimate thing that you want to share with somebody. So, you know, it's about that sharing of intimacy, connecting with people on an intimate level so that you can nurture and help and serve them to their best interests. So that's the numbers now. I'm just going to have another drink because talking is a lot. So how do we use the numerology? So you've learned all this information and it's all kind of churning around in your head, and it's like, yeah, but what do I do with it now? So, you know, for me, I've really used it at home to get deeper connections with my husband and my children. So, you know, when I see a pattern of behavior that, you know, is negative, I can look back at the numbers and say, okay, what is going on here? Why are they acting in that way? You know, why is Tully always pushing the boundaries? Just why is he doing that? And, you know, I can understand him better, and I can, you know, create a deeper connection with him, because I can say, okay, I can see why you're doing that, mate. But maybe this is not the best way to express that. Maybe we can find another way to express that. And so you connect with people on this deeper level of who they are. And, you know, for people that are coming into my team and, you know, who I don't have a great connection with yet because I just haven't known them for long enough, it gives me a greater understanding. Or even people that I have known for a while, and, you know, it's like, why can't I get a connection there? What's going on? Why aren't I able to do that? Or why are they behaving in this way? I can understand now because I can look at their birthday and say, oh, okay, well, they've got a 2 there and a 1 there, or, you know, they've got a 7 over here or a 5 over here, whatever it is. It just gives me a better understanding of who they are and where they'll fit into my tree, so that I can make sure that, you know, they're going to have the opportunity to grow in the way that they need to, and also in the way that they want to. So, you know, the balance between, you know, pushing them a little bit out of their comfort zone and also nurturing them to support them. So, you know, that it's just, you know, a fantastic tool for that. You know, self-development, I think, is the key for what numerology has done for me. The minute I started concentrating on myself and what was in my chart, self-development just went through the roof. And that's flowed on as well, because, you know, my kids see that, you know, I'm opening up and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And so they do that. And, you know, the same with my husband. You know, he sees me working on something and he's like, okay, what can I do? Or what should I look at? And, you know, which oils will help me with that? Or what essences can I take to do that? Or whatever it is. You know, numerology is like the basis that we can build on things. And I also think that, you know, it helps with understanding different aspects of life. You know, we had the full moon recently, and it was on the 11th of the 4th, 2017. So, you know, 11's this gateway, and 4's this foundation, and 1's this new beginning. And, you know, being able to look at the dates of things and the significance, because it all means something. And being able to say, well, wow, this is something really special here. You know, what are we going to do to take advantage of it? You know, how are we going to use this energy that's coming through to help us? So being able to do that in your life is just amazing. And sometimes it's not until later that I start connecting the dots. But, you know, once I do, it's like, yes, you know, we trusted our intuition. We just did what we thought. And it turned out to be just this amazing experience. And, you know, the business connections. So like I said, working out where to put people in my tree, you know, looking at their numbers and saying, okay, well, these guys are going to go together. And, you know, maybe that is someone that will potentially share later on, or maybe they will want to build one day because, you know, their numbers are kind of there. And so at least putting them in a position where there's an opportunity for that and that I can support and nurture that. You know, something I've just started doing with wellness consults is incorporating numerology into that. So, yeah, no, it's great to talk about, you know, what physical things do you want to use the oils for, or, you know, what do you want to do to support in your life? But, you know, taking it a little bit deeper and saying, okay, well, let's have a look at some of your numbers in your chart. And, you know, what do these numbers mean? And, you know, have you noticed that this comes up, or have you noticed that comes up? And, you know, then being able to say, yeah, I have. And going, okay, well, do you want to look at some oils for that? Because I know when I got my oils, we talked about all these physical things, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. You know, we were at a point where we had already been doing a lot of self-development, and we don't have a lot of physical ailments. We're well, generally. You know, we use our oils mostly for emotional and spiritual support. And so, you know, we can use numerology to work out, okay, what emotions or what spiritual things do you want to support? You know, if you've moved up through the physical stuff, or if you want to go, you know, you're okay, I'm using my digestive for my digestive stuff, and, you know, but I want to go deeper into that. What does my number say, and how can I use that? So incorporating that into the wellness consults, because, you know, everybody has one at the start. You know, when they join the team, it's protocol that everybody has a wellness consult. And, you know, some people aren't interested in numerology, and that's fine. Just still it's a standard wellness consult. You know, maybe they are, and maybe we can just start it out and have a little bit. And, you know, I'm going to start to develop up some training for my team that they can use. So in their life at home, you know, I just was speaking to a lady last week who asked me about the numerology. She said she really wants to use it to connect better with her kids. So, you know, we're going to do a wellness consult and talk about her, but also bring in some of the stuff with her kids. So I want to be able to set up some more in-depth training for my team on, you know, how can they use this in their personal life? And, you know, being able to talk to them individually and saying, okay, you want to use it for this, well, let's have a look at what resources you need, or how can I help, or, you know, what sort of webinars can we set up? So, you know, there's so many possibilities that this brings a smile to my face. So using the oils, I think that when you commit to, you know, for me, I committed to like working on the 7. And I won't say I've mastered it. I definitely have not. I am 100% better than I used to be, but I still have a long way to go. And so the thing with using the oils for self-development is consistency. You have to commit to using them long term. This is not a quick fix. You know, for me, I'm 32 years old. I've been doing this shit for 32 years. I have to undo all of that to be able to get back to the point where I am just being true 100% to myself. So it's like the layers of an onion. You have to peel them back, and who knows how many layers there are. Just keep on using the oils. You know, some days you'll feel like they're not working, and other days you'll feel like magic and everything's, you know, going your way. Just commit to using them all the time, consistently, long term. I cannot stress that enough. You know, I use cardamom every single day, morning and night, because I have hot head. I do go off. I get angry at things. Anger and frustration are my default emotions. I know that. I can totally understand that, connect with it, resonate with it, but that doesn't mean it's appropriate. So I use the cardamom. I apply it around my hairline. I apply it onto my chest and down through my abdomen, because it helps to cool the hot head, and it also helps with assimilation of emotions. So it's helping me assimilate those little bits of frustration, so it doesn't get to the point where I'm so angry I just go off and yell, because I don't want to do that. My kids don't want that. My husband doesn't want that. Nobody does. So that's what I mean. I notice a big difference. I've been using it for months now, and I've noticed a big difference. Little things just don't get to me. I just get it before it gets to that point. And, you know, so they're powerful. They are so powerful. You just have to commit to that long-term, consistent use. I can't say it enough. Long-term, consistent use. Keep doing it every day. Set it up. So I have a roller made up of cardamom, and I use other oils every day. So I've got oils that I use consistently. So I use lavender and spearmint when I know I'm going to a situation where I have to speak about things that maybe I wouldn't have spoke about in the past. Apply some to my throat, take them with me if I need them. I always do that. Cardamom I just use every single day. I have a roller made up. It's in my bedroom. So when I'm getting dressed, I just roll it on, breathe it in. And when I first got it, I was like, oh my God, this is not a nice oil. Now I just adore it. It's so, as soon as I breathe it, I just feel soothed, and it just is amazing. I love it. So set it up so that you will succeed. Have the oils in a spot where you know you're going to use them every day. And like, so I will use cardamom every morning and every night, but then I might aromatically dress in something different and put a totally different thing in my diffuser. And if I'm using them internally, it might be something different again. So, you know, just because you've committed to using an oil every day doesn't mean that's the only one you can use, because, you know, you're diluting them. You're only getting a small amount to use, but it's consistently long term. So you can use as many as you want, but just use that a little bit. You know, be responsible in the way you use them, but use them consistently. So, you know, if you haven't got any oils yet, and now you're thinking you want to, go and connect back with the person that referred you to this workshop. They will be able to help you work out which oils you need, if you want to get a kit, if you want to enroll, however you want to do it. If you're not enrolled and you're interested in joining my team, jump on my Facebook page, which is at Alison's Essential Love, or my Instagram, and send me a message, or just get in contact with me, and we can work out the best way for you to get some oils into your team. So I talked about, you know, what I'm doing with my team, and, you know, how I'm growing my tree, and that, you know, it's a tree, and where, you know, I want to nourish every single branch, leaf, root, every twig on the tree, because, you know, that's what helps to nourish me. And I think that numerology is going to be a really strong part of what I do with the people that are interested in it. Obviously I'm going to have some people that aren't, and that's totally fine. Something that I am really, after a big, kick up the butt from Hayley, I'm going to work hard on, really integrating what I already know and learning more so that I can bring it and share it out with my tree and, the greater doTERRA community. So that's it. I'll just stop that share there. So thank you so much. I'm just buzzing with excitement now from, being able to share with you and just, get out there just a little bit of what I know and, how I use the oils in my everyday life and, how you could use them in your everyday life. And, I think it's something that, you've learned a little bit now, and you can share that little bit that you've learned with someone you love or someone you work with or whatever it may be. And I'm going to start making up, doing some more workshops. So, working on, maybe we'll work on life lesson next, or, how does your name fit into all of this? But it's something that we can, definitely all use and work with. And, it's just amazing. And I just love it. So thank you so much for letting me share it with you. And I just hope you love it. And, if you've got any questions, just jump on my page. I post little videos and, put little bits and pieces of numerology in there. So if you want to know more, just jump on there and connect with me. See ya.